Bootsy Greenwood here, breaking down each chapter of Vadim Zeland's masterpiece, A Reality Transurfing. We are now in chapter 7. This is chapter 7, Intention, which to me is one of the most interesting chapters of the entire book. I absolutely love this chapter. It's really trippy, and we're really getting into some nuanced stuff here. So I thought what I might do is talk about this chapter a little bit, but then just read some quotes from it that I've highlighted. The beginning of this chapter, which is the first chapter of the second book on transurfing, is about lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is a pretty interesting phenomenon, and if you're not familiar with it, it's when you become aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. He talks about this phenomenon in great detail in the beginning of the chapter, and then he says it's not necessary to be able to lucid dream to be able to transurf. The idea is this, that every night you go to sleep in your two parts. You are mind and soul. And your mind closes off when you go to sleep, but your heart goes out into the space of variations, or the field of alternates, or whatever it's called, infinity. I've always wondered about this, even as a little kid, if it might be possible to encounter somebody else in your dream, etc. But what happens is your conscious mind wakes up while you're in the dream, and your heart that's flying around, and now you are acting as a very unified dream character, person, human being in the dream world, and you're able to do whatever basically you want to do. Or you just get really excited and wake up. So what Vadim's saying is, and it's pretty heavy, that whenever we go to sleep at night, our heart is traveling through this crazy, weird, alternative universe, whatever the other side of the mirror, through the looking glass even. And what he says is this is key to understanding how we can make circumstances and our situation here in third dimension ideal for ourselves as well. He says that as above, so below, as below, so above, as above, so below. Just like the Hermetic axiom, you know. What he's saying, what that means is that in the metaphysical or in other dimensions, the laws operate the same as they do in the lower dimensions, which is the third dimension. So if we can understand how this works, then we can use it to our advantage. He says, everything about the dream space generates more questions than answers. However, one thing is certain. Dreams are not an illusion. It might seem weird to say that every night we move into the alternative space and live a virtual life there, but the alternative space may not have a tangible physical foundation, but it's real nonetheless. He says also that we always create the object of our mind's most dominating thoughts. That means whenever we don't like something with all our heart and all our mind, we're attracting that to us as well. And it's probably easier to attract that than it is the positive stuff. The alternatives flow will not allow you to swim in different directions at the same time. Attuning to a targeted sector is most effective when focused on one specific goal. That's something that I've had a hard time with. You really do have to pick one thing at a time. I'm reading a book right now called The One Thing that talks about how to do that. It's an excellent book. Maybe I'll talk about that some later. It's not desire that is fulfilled so much as intention. So when we're talking about desire, that's this thing that's within us that we're like, I want this thing and it's awesome and I want it. And so the only way to get to a goal through desire is to take the fortress by lengthy siege. So that means we have to continue to expose ourselves and all of this kind of stuff through inner intention or desire. They're synonymous basically. And then, you know, we can get there in time. Well, that's pretty freaking awesome. Most people can't even do that. But what he's saying is if you use intention, and especially outer intention, now you're like using almost superpowers. Desire of itself leads to nothing. On the contrary, the more intensely you desire something, the more active the backlash of balanced forces. Remember we talked about that. That's that excess potential. Desire focuses on the goal, whereas intention focuses on the process of achieving the goal. So desire is like this lofty idea of I'm going to have this thing and it's going to be magical and I'm going to stick it on my fridge and it's going to be beautiful, whatever. Whereas intention is like I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then eventually I'll get to my goal. And it's not worried about the consequences or what it's going to receive or get as a result. When a person experiences feelings of sincere gratitude, they radiate creative energy. That's pretty key. You know, a lot of people talk about how, you know, how art is made, you know, and I think that it's made better from a positive perspective than it is from a negative one, even though a lot of people do create art from a negative place. I think that the stuff that's created from a higher place is usually better. Thoughts expressed in the words give and want automatically create excess potential. So basically what's happening in those situations is you're saying you don't have something and the universe just agrees with you. If you want something, then you obviously are devoid of it. You can't be living in abundance. You know what I mean? So even those words automatically create excess potential. Intention unites desire and action. So intention, particularly hopefully outer intention, but inner intention too, to take that desire, take that intention, and apply it. That way it disperses any excess potential energy, and that's no longer affecting you anymore. So that's the lengthy siege. Waiting, worrying, doubt, and desire only drain your energy. Intention and action not only dissipates the energy behind excess potential, it uploads that energy to the person's energy field. So not only will that break through that energy, it'll also give you extra energy. Outer intention is a case of if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. The idea here is that with intention, we light up parts of the alternative space and bring them closer to reality. So instead of going to it, like in self-help, we're going to go get this thing. Well, why don't we just attract it to ourselves? Outer intention is born of improvisation, like insight. You cannot prepare for outer intention. All magic rituals are aimed at evoking the power of outer intention, but ritual is just the preparation for magic, a theatrical prelude. So what he's saying there is that all the magic rituals are doing are this attempt to bring our mind and soul together. You know, there's a lot of hermetic magicians and stuff like that, people who literally cast spells. And what those rituals are doing is they're trying to just bring those two hemispheres of the brain together so that they can create outer intention and make the situation happen that they're trying to make happen. He's saying that it's not the theatrical, dramatic, thing that makes it happen, but it's the belief in it that creates that outer intention. Inner intention strives directly towards the goal. Outer intention is focused on the process of independent realization. Outer intention does not hurry to achieve the goal as it is already a done deal. The fact that the goal will indeed be achieved is neither doubted or discussed. Outer intention is unremitting, cool-headed, detached, and moves the goal indomitably towards its realization. You try to get what you want versus life freely gives you what you want. Inner intention, fight for a place in the sun. Outer intention, world offers you its embrace. Inner intention, bang on a locked door. Outer intention, door opens wide for you. Inner intention, try passing through a wall. I think you see, the wall moves, blah, blah, blah. Events come of their own accord. That's the idea of outer intention. When you battle for something, it's like you're trying to push your realization into the alternative space. Whereas when you choose something, outer intention, the space comes to you. For the mind to accept something, there has to be faith as well as knowledge. Faith presupposes the possibility of doubt. For where there is belief, there is also room for doubt. Desire, doubt. Hope, doubt. Right? Faith. But knowledge eradicates doubt. Pure outer intention is free of doubt and consequently of belief also. It's the strongest faith in something, that it's just already there. The reality of the waking state differs from the dreaming state only in the inert quality of material realization in the alternative space. In all other ways, they are the same. As above, so below. This is inert, so it takes more time for anything to happen. But in the fourth or fifth dimension, wherever we are when we're in the dream space, it's bam, bam, immediate. But the same principles apply. As above, so below. The laws aren't any different. Inner intention transforms into outer intention when the conscious mind meets and merges with the subconscious. That's key. We definitely want that to happen, because if the conscious mind and the subconscious mind meet and merge into action, then that's an autonomized person. I mean, you can't be any more self-aware, or I don't know, powerful than that as a human being. That's also where charm comes from, is just being that most authentic self that is the true unification of mind and soul. Outer intention would be more accurately described as giving the green light for the realization of whatever the soul and mind agree on. So whatever you're scared of, or whatever it is that you agree on, then that is coming for you. The heart and the mind most often agree over the things they would rather avoid in life, and so the cases where a person's worst expectations are realized provide the most indicative illustration of how outer intention works. So whatever it is that you don't want, very often that's what you wind up with, because you really, really, really don't want it. You really don't want it with your heart. You really don't want it with your soul or your mind. And so they agree, and they bring it to themselves. They bring it to you. To subject outer intention to your will, you have to wipe all negative thought from your mind and establish harmony between the heart and mind in your positive striving. So, again, it has to be that every situation is leading you to a better place, a better reality, closer to, where you're going to find your most authentic self and your deepest purpose. He starts talking about the game script and the mirror. When he says the mirror, he's talking about the metaphysical side of the mirror, the alternative space, all these other dimensions, whatever you want to call that, versus the physical reality, third dimension that we live in. He says the mirror is an example of how we dynamically correct our own script. Only the mirror is an example of how inner intention functions, whereas the dream is an example of outer intention. If we can see how the dream works, then we can understand what outer intention is. In non-lucid dreaming, the dream just happens. Outer intention acts independently of your will, and there is nothing you can do about it. He says there are 4 types of inner intention: flight, fight, awakening, and realization. When you work with outer intention, you simply imagine that your opponent is turning into a frog. In other words, you accept that their turning into a frog is a potential reality. Outer intention only imagines an event to be true and accepts the possibility of a different script. If the mind can fully accept the idea that there can be an alternative to the usual development of events, the heart will not object. Union between the heart and mind activates outer intention, which transforms the chosen script into physical reality. As you can see, outer intention arises not as a result of will, but as a consequence of harmony between the heart and mind. Outer intention acts independently of personal will, and so inner intention, or personal will, should only be directed towards achieving a harmonious connection between heart and mind. So basically, what the author is saying is, we should take all the willpower that we have to try and unite our 2 hemispheres, our heart and our mind. At that point, I don't think anything can really go wrong, because how could it, right? Those 2 things are activating outer intention, which are going to bring fortuitous situations to you that you don't even have to try to attract, or you're attracting them naturally. There's always a simple solution to any complex problem. The simple solution lies in the vaudeville lifeline. To shift to this lifeline, all that is required is the intention to imagine yourself. It is so. You are no longer a puppet on a string. I should warn you, though, to be careful of the temptation of considering yourself the puppeteer. Don't get a big head, people. That's what he's saying, all right? You have the right to choose not to change. You have you know, you should make yourself at home, but don't forget that you're a guest. A vaudeville attitude to a problem does not suggest being slack or nonchalant, but it does mean being capable of soberly assessing the importance of things. You have to remind yourself again and again of the need to go with the flow. Conscious awareness lies in observation, not in the ability to control. Control should only be directed towards imagining an auspicious script, allowing it into your life, and embracing it with all your heart, instead of floundering about in negativity. It is not about forcing your own script on the world so much as considering it possible, allowing an alternative to be realized, and allowing yourself to receive it. You will only succeed in ceasing to do battle with the world and allowing yourself to choose if the heart and mind are one. Taking responsibility for your own fate is not a burden, but an act of freedom. That's going to do it for this chapter. I could probably stand to read this chapter many, many more times, but it's pretty outrageous to think about this. And I'm curious to know your thoughts. Please comment below. Let me know what you think about this. It's definitely an interesting theory, and it's not, it's not going to be without people being like, what? But to me, it makes a lot of sense. I've definitely experienced a couple lucid dreams, and I've also seen evidence of outer intention by attempting these ideas. And that's where I would suggest you start. If you are in doubt, then attempt these things. Start with something simple, and then start, seeing what you can do, seeing if you can use intention. And really, like you said, the most important thing is to bring our heart and mind together. That's where charisma is. That's where our authenticity lies. And when we become that person, we automatically get on the best lifeline for who we are as individuals. So that's going to do it for this chapter. Thank you all so much. Check me out on gumroad.com/BootsyGreenwood. I'm also on patreon.com/BootsyGreenwood. And I'm at Bootsy Greenwood frickin' everywhere. So follow me, send me a message. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see y'all on the next one.